Particular. Oh, ding! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Geek Primer Live. I'm your host,
We're back.
John Santo. We're back after a brief hiatus for work and vacation and other such things. And for those of you, of course, who had seen our Friday show, Shu and I talked about Boyhood and Schwarzenegger movies and some other crap like that. Somebody's.
That's what we should call the show, crap like that.
Yeah, crap like that. All about crap like that. So anyways, with me, as always, we don't have a theme song tonight because our band leader is off once again dealing with his gambling habit, we believe. It's
called a fun diction.
We laugh only because it's just scary and don't want to deal with it. So
it masks our pain.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing, basically. We're masking our pain. But with me, of course, as always, we got Dub here. Dub, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you, as always, for having me and for not having a show when I wasn't available.
Yeah, no, thank you. Also, Tremendo T, how's life?
Hey, thanks for allowing me to be had.
That's the original mask, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the
one that fits.
Mm-hmm.
It has a T.
It has
built
a T.
into it. I like that.
Yeah. That's for all us atheists. It's a T.
Yeah, it's a T. What's this obsession that Christians have with T?
T's. I don't know. Yeah, we got to think about crosses. It's the
old. The last letter in Christ.
It's the old the Bill Hicks joke of do you think if Jesus came back he'd want to see everybody wearing crosses? It'd be like wearing a rifle, walking around Jackie Onassis and going, just thinking of John, Jackie, just thinking of John. I always loved that guy. Anyways, and also with us, of course, Warren, Osama bin Loungin himself.
From my cave in the mountains.
That's right.
Speaking of Jesus.
Speaking of Jesus.
Yeah. So, anyways,
here I am.
Okay, so the Graff brothers.
Yeah, we should do this quick.
We
actually went and saw both of you who follow me on Twitter may have seen that me and Warren saw Transformers 4.
Did anybody else?
I don't know what more can be said of it. What I will say, and I think it was.
The picture that you tweeted out though was just the two of you in an empty theater. Did anybody else join?
Yes. Yeah. Some dude came and sat the row behind us, literally behind us and 2 seats over.
What the fuck?
Just close enough to make us feel bad about talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Just close enough to hear us bagging on the movie, which could have been the 2 old guys from the Muppets the whole time, loudly. We had a whisper.
And what you didn't know, it was Michael Bay in disguise, single tier.
Good.
Yeah, no, I feel good about that. So I kept thinking of it was it's a terrible movie. I don't recommend it. I'm so sorry, Warren.
And you're kind of a fan of the movies.
I'm kind of a fan of the series. Well, I was a fan of the first one. I didn't like the second one. I liked the third one. And this one, it's almost like it's such as a fan, it's a delicate balance to pull off something that's entertaining amidst something that's so horrible.
Right.
It's a horrible idea. They're all horrible plots. I don't think there's a way to make a giant fighting robot movie substantive in any real way. So the best you can do is not have those talking scenes be so boring.
Or repetitive.
With that pitfall. They're so bad.
And repetitive. It was there was no new ideas in any of those talking scenes.
No, there was no point. And I think it was some review I read of it. I think I told Sandra about this, where they said that the incoherence is not a bug; it's a feature. It's part of the movie. I think is supposed to be just silly and make no sense and go from one scene to the other. And part of me almost feels like they should have embraced that further. That what I'm going to for this movie would have been satisfactory at a. First of all, cut an hour off of this stupid movie.
Right.
It's almost 3 hours long. But if I had spent money for a 2-hour plotless montage of super clean giant robots cleaving one another in two with swords, I would have felt more satisfied with my money than this movie, which tried to make me emotionally connect with characters that I have no business emotionally connecting with.
Well, I think one of the things, also something that I didn't mention, by the way, when we talked about it, which is still one of my favorite parts, is Transformium, because they had to outdo Unobtainium one more time.
Right.
They had fuck it, we can go better. And then
wait, hold on. We should really stop here and explain to people who haven't seen it. Transformium is an element, and the way it relates to the Transformers is it's the element that makes them transform.
Yes, it is what they are made of.
For those of you who didn't understand what we meant when we said transformium. Complicated word. It sounds very technical, but it's not. It's really very simple.
It is not on any of the elemental charts yet. We are working strongly to get that there.
No.
Superman's metachlorines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I thought those were metachlorians.
It's what makes Transformers transform.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other thing is, and I forgot to mention, is that has to be like, okay, these movies may not be have anything to them other than a peek into the mind of Michael Bay, which may almost be more important in a weird way. It is the most awkwardly misogynistic, fucked up movie that you could possibly. I mean, like all the stuff with the daughter is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the weird but there's one point when they're on this ship and they see the alien creature that looks like a giant vagina, and the John Goodman transformer calls it a bitch and blows it away.
You're gonna have to be more specific.
I don't know what else I can say about that. That's pretty much it.
I feel like that happened a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and that was the other thing.
And then they filmed the scene.
Is I feel like if he would have taken it one step, like one notch down, like I could have brought my kids. Like I feel like he's a stone's throw from family entertainment,
right?
While still raking in the kind of big bucks worldwide that he would get from a movie that is, again, giant robots cleaving one another in half with giant swords, and you get to see all the sparky innards as it goes in. I would pay money for that. That's what I go to the movies for. But don't waste my time with these glorious like farm sunset pictures.
Or Mark Wahlberg looking off into the middle distance thinking about something.
Yeah, he did a lot of contemplating. Not since Ben Affleck in Argo have I seen one actor do so much staring off into space contemplating. There's a lot of staring off into space he was thinking about things.
And I couldn't believe how strong he was to be able to fend off the sword fighting. Fighting off he would sit there and he'd like hold his weapon up and stop the Autobot or the whatever the guy's name was. The bad guy. You know, there were so many bad guys.
But that's a consistent problem of the series is the physics of these things. There's a I think we talked about this from the very first one because Scientist Steph didn't like it. The conservation of mass theory. You lose mass.
Yeah. She gets really upset with that movie every time.
As it transforms, and I completely agree. I mean, the original Transformers were awesome because you held them and you made them transform. Right. Like it was a truck, and when it anyway. We're going too far into this. So the movie is a mess.
The thing about Transformers to begin with is that even when you transform them, you could still see that they were once something else. Right. Whereas in this, they're just spiky, geary-looking things.
Right. Well, in this one, they are their color scheme.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we found a Transformer. So we're putting that sucker to bed. You guys didn't see it in 3D by any chance? Oh, I'm sorry. You've got more on your thesis here.
The example I always use to tell everyone just how stupid this movie is the opening scene, and it's entirely possible there's something I missed, but if there is, it's very subtle. The opening scene with Mark Wahlberg is he goes to a theater, he's an inventor.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care if I'm spoiling anything. This is so weird. It took me like half the movie just to let it go. He goes to an old movie theater, which I'm like, cool, I like movies. Let's go see the old movie theater. And he's there to scavenge parts from the projector to try and invent stuff. While he's in the old movie theater, what does he find hidden under the tarp? A Mack truck.
Stuck in the side of the wall.
A Mack truck had smashed in through the movie theater that no one had noticed or mentioned or cared about before. Like riddled with bullets.
Yeah.
Like, it was so strange that you would find this truck in this movie, and everyone's like, "Oh, can I have this truck?" And he's like, "Sure, you can haul it out of my movie theater." Like it was so weird. It was so surreal. It was like a Mad Libs introduction to the character.
Here's what I'm actually. I thought you were going to mention this, but the bizarre dialogue that takes place about movies these days are all just stupid sequels with bad dialogue about big explosions or whatever the hell he says. It's like it's like the dialogue is mocking what this movie is. It's like and I think it's
hold.
Yeah.
Could this be like his adaptation? Is that our through the looking glass moment where we are in the theater with the character and then we break from reality? We're in the third act of adaptation, right?
Right.
The intro to the character, he's poor, he's an inventor, he's not getting anywhere, he's scavenging these parts, and then he enters a magical realm where the Steve Jobs Gates Buffett, who hires him at the end, like showers him with gold.
Wow, he's transforming. He is proving that he's actually one of the Transformers. Yeah.
I believe I need to see this movie several more times.
Yeah, I think
it's a date.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's like I think what John mentioned when you were talking about is I think Michael Bay was barely there.
I agree. Yeah, I think he didn't give a shit at all. Yeah.
There's something so you see it's consistent across the three movies. There is something so clean about those stunt sequences. It gives it a very specific feel. Like I think if he, I don't want to disparage him too much as a director. Maybe as an editor. Maybe as an editor.
I think you should do it.
But he's a I mean, we've talked about good director, bad storytellers. Like he's a terrible storyteller, and I don't know if this one, if it mattered, like if he needed to care about that.
Right. See, and it's funny because with Pain and Gain, I would say he's not a horrible storyteller. I really just think it's by this point in time, it's like, okay, they need me to make them another $bazillion. Let me go in. And I forget who it was on a set visit, was talking like he plays more like a general than he does a director, you know, and because he's just moving these massive parts around, and he's not worried about story or character or anything else in one of these films. It's just, I've got so many days to get so many shots, and I've got to get this in the can now, that he's just barreling through shit.
But you could see, like, in the movie, like, the pieces didn't fit together. Like, the special effects and the practical effects didn't match. Like, there was explosions and action going on that was poorly timed. And I felt like, wait, didn't he get shot, or weren't they throwing grenades over there? But then, like, they were jumping in the air already, and then there was explosions, or then there was explosions first, and then they jumped in the air. It was just like, it felt like they had bigger plans and they didn't quite have everything together.
Yeah, well, I think I mentioned this last time. I thought it was like one of those like Universal stunt shows or something like that. Where,
yes,
like,
I noticed that. Yeah. It's so terrible.
So yeah. So okay, let's move
on. I'm gonna have to see that movie again. Formulate my through the looking glass theory of Transformers 4. Convince all of you, 12 Angry Men style, that Michael Bay is a good and intelligent director. But moving on. Until then.
All right. So okay, so that's it for the night. No, so T, you've been sharing on Facebook some of your recent poster purchases, or unless you have a movie or something you'd like to chat about.
The last thing I saw was Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I don't know if we've talked about that.
Oh yeah, you guys. Okay. So why did you guys decide to see Transformers versus Dawn of the Planet of the Apes?
It wasn't out yet.
Oh okay.
Right.
Yeah, it was like the day before it opened, and then Warren hasn't seen the first one.
Yeah.
Oh okay. Fair enough.
Wow. Well, we can hold off.
Look how Warren's like picking food off his shirt now.
I know. I thought it was blood. I'm like, did I get shot in that last segment? Is this Michael Bay?
Michael Bay. We see a little red dot appear on your forehead.
Right.
Michael Bay sucked.
So I'll tell you what, T. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Give us your thoughts.
Well, do you want to hold off on and talk about it when everyone's seen it?
Yeah, hold off. I'm hoping to see it this weekend.
Okay. We'll hold off.
Let's do that.
We can do a full thing.
All right.
But Warren, you should definitely see the first one.
Yeah, I know. I know. I have to see it.
You can. It's really, really a good film.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly good movie, and that
happens to be monkey centric.
That happens to be monkey centric, which is a plus. I mean, right off the bat.
You know, although ever since
Lancelot Link.
No, Project X.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no. Yeah. I would not say.
I have a hard time with monkey movies that are, monkeys being worked on. I can't handle those.
Interesting. All right. Well, we're getting into the soul of Warren tonight, and that's okay. He's got
Where's Michael Bay when you need him?
Yeah, something happened with monkeys, and he can't deal with them. So T, then let's move back to your poster scenario here. You've actually been collecting. You've been posting quite a few posters recently.
Yeah, I found a dealer on eBay that was unloading a shitload of posters from the 70s and early 80s for like $7-8 each.
Right.
When I got them in the mail, half of them were original, half of them are reprints. So I'll just show you the few that I posted really quick, and then talk about the movie.
How can you tell the difference? Like, is there a way to tell by looking at it?
There's what are called NSS markings at the bottom of the poster, and I hope I get the name right. NSS was the National Screen Society, and it was an organization that managed the distribution of posters. And they're kind of like the MPAA in a sense, or there was some kind of overseeing distribution entity.
Well, yeah, they were a company originally that all they did was deal with press materials, and so they were in charge of creating like the press kits and all of the marketing materials for theaters, which a lot of the time they were basically kind of freelance for studios. And it was their job to create this. There's actually a really good on Filmmaker IQ. There's a really good video about the history of the movie trailer, and it goes through all of that about how they would make posters and lobby cards and standees and that whole process.
So the company made themselves important or made themselves necessary within the film community to be somebody who sort of like verifies these things and makes sure they're.
Well, they actually did the distribution. I mean, they were in charge of distributing the posters out. There's a book called The World's Rarest Movie Posters, and it's pretty much a coffee table book. It's coffee tables.
Espressos, yeah.
It's
German poetry.
And the beginning is a really good primer of movie posters and the history of movie posters. And some of these things are just crazy rare because a lot of them never made it out to the theaters. In the late 30s, there was these gigantic posters that were pretty much conceptual pieces of proposed artwork for smaller posters that were broken up into what we call one sheets now, which is your standard size, and then lobby cards, which are the
like 8x10 stills.
11 by 17 that they just hung in the lobby.
Right.
The Snow White one, it's gone for tens of thousands of dollars, and so that's a very lucrative market. Anyway, the NCSS number is a number that every poster up until the mid '80s, I believe, each poster had a designated number at the bottom printed, and it was usually NSS. Then it was the year, followed by 4-digit, sometimes 3-digit number, and that number was the order in which the film was released that year. So in '74, an NSS number for the first movie released that year would be 1974-001.
Huh.
So it's a unique number to that film. So the originals have that number. The other way you can tell is there's no copyright markings in the bottom, like a copier marking, like for a layout, the blue lines on a layout sheet.
Oh yeah, I know that.
That's your standard printout. Sometimes it's computerized, sometimes it's a printing press. And also, if the movie's from the '80s and the paper is way too glossy or too pristine, you can tell that was a reprint as well, a reproduction.
So, do you know when they started the double-sided poster thing for lit cases, so the posters would look better?
The first one I saw was in the early '90s. Unforgiven was the first double-sided poster.
I was going to say, yeah, something like that. Was Unforgiven the first official one? Okay. Yeah, because
I don't know that. That's the first one I saw.
Because I saw that one, and like I remember the Rocketeer having a two-sided thing, and I remember at the movie theater whenever new posters would come in, we'd be really excited when something was double-sided because we just were weird.
And then there's the backlit ones, which you see today.
Right.
They're printed on this like sheety, filmy material. I think that I almost picked up a Kazam for like 99 cents, and it's one of the ones you just put up against the light, and it's super bright.
Right.
So the current batch, that you see in the theaters now are probably that.
Did we ever talk about the Meteor Man poster?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the Meteor Man poster. The Meteor Man was Robert Townsend, horrible superhero movie that came out back in like what 91, 92, something like that. And it was the posters were 3D and they were thick. They were thick plastic with the the what's the like the rivet kind of thing. So it, you can so depending on where you're standing, the different levels pop out.
Okay, yeah, the transform.
And they were all numbered. They were all numbered. Yeah. Is that what it is?
Oh, lenticular. Yeah.
Yeah. So and they were like we had to sign for them and we couldn't do anything with them. It's like they had to be sent back when we were done with them and stuff like that. They probably cost more than the movie, and the cost of those posters actually probably cost more than what the movie actually made in the theater itself. But yeah, I'd be kind of curious to see that movie again, just out of the odd. Now that we're in the middle of a comic book phase, superhero phase.
Well, was Townsend always ahead of his time?
Yeah.
You know, there was a Meteor Man poster in Oakland that was up literally a decade after the movie left theaters. They just left it up on that billboard. Like nobody else wanted that billboard in Oakland. There was just this like faded old Meteor Man poster.
They paid 10 years. We're getting 10 years.
I always remember that. That was so surreal. It's a little disconcerting.
They knocked down a movie theater in my hometown about. They gutted it out. The building is there. They found an original Vertigo poster in the theater, and they offered it. They offered it to a relative of mine, and they didn't take it. So I don't know what happened to that original Vertigo poster. But it was no idea what size it was or anything. But
I gotta say, I think my Meteor Man story is better.
Yeah, at the loft actually. One time we were cleaning out the attic full of posters, and like I found an original. I have an original Kagamusha poster. That's boring as hell, which is a real shame. It's one of those things where it's like you find a couple of these really cool posters that are pretty rare, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, but it's like the artwork is nothing, and you're just kind of like, what the hell? So, but you keep it anyways. So, all right, so T, let's.
At least I'm stealing.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see what you got.
I mostly collect because of the artwork.
Mm-hmm. No, we're not judging you on film taste here. We want to just see the poster.
No. I mean, I don't care.
I'm judging on film
Okay.
taste.
So this is a movie from the early '80s. It's a Richard Pryor flick, and I don't know the artist, but I think he's pretty well known.
I love Bustin' Loose.
And that's the one with that's where he's taking is that the one where he's taking the kids cross country? That's what I was trying to remember.
Right. He's taking them to the camp or a farm, and it's these troubled kids who don't have a place to go or orphans or whatever. And the first half is pretty vintage Richard Pryor. It's pretty raunchy, and there's some good stuff in the first half, and then it gets really sentimental and kind of movie of the weeky kind of.
I feel like I was too young to see it when I saw it. Like I didn't understand a lot of it. It was a lot of heavy stuff between him and the kids.
Right.
Like one of the kids was a pyromaniac and burns down the house, and like it turned from comedy to drama. I was like, I don't understand. This isn't funny.
There was a Vietnamese. She was a Vietnamese child prostitute.
Oh yeah.
Funny.
Wow. Yeah. Man, the early '80s were interesting. What an interesting time. You get away with a lot of shit then. It's like the Bad News Bears, but they're on a bus, sort of.
But that poster is one of the my favorite scenes in the movie.
Right.
Like him walking down the street, like the bus was like stuck there.
It's probably the last funny scene in the movie as well.
Yeah, maybe. But it's just when he's walking and all the KKK guys are behind him, and he's just like, oh shit. And he gets them to help them with the bus.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we got to help. Hey, guys, we got to help all these kids here.
Because they were like blind kids or something like that. Yeah. Like, even though they were all like different ethnicities, they were able.
Oh, yeah.
He was able to like convince
came up with the story too.
That was his story.
Yeah. He's credited with the story. Roger Simon is credited with the screenplay.
Pryor is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, interesting.
It's not bad. It's probably the last vehicle for him his solo vehicle before he started teaming up with Gene Wilder on a regular basis after Silver Streak.
Right.
Stir Crazy may have been the follow up to that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I think Silver Streak was late 70s.
Yeah, that was like 76.
I fucking love Silver Streak. That's one I have not seen in a long
really
time.
good.
I actually like that. I like that more than I like
stands
Stir
up.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, it's
Stir
got
Crazy does not. I used to think Stir Crazy was the funniest movie ever made, and
Yeah.
I watched it on Netflix recently, and it's pretty bad.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Silver
I do
Streak,
think Silver Streak holds up.
Yeah, well, Silver Streak has the benefit of it basically being a Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a wrong man angle going with it. You've got McGowan with if Patrick McGowan, if Shu were here, he would go into a giant McGowan diatribe.
He would go down the Magoo hole, as we say.
The Magoo hole, yeah, he would dive down the Magoo hole and never come
out. I got a Richard Pryor story.
Okay.
Stir Crazy, that John might remember. Santo, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? Jim Ferguson in Tucson.
Oh yeah.
The film guy. Okay.
Yeah. What a hack.
So
is he
Stir
dead?
Crazy was. I think he's still around. I think he's
okay.
That's a shame. Yeah. Stir Crazy was filmed in Tucson during radio days. And,
oh my God! Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Ferguson's is totally, straight-laced, old-school news guy from 70s, and he's interviewing a totally coked-out Richard Pryor.
Okay.
If you YouTube this clip, it's Richard Pryor coked out of his mind, struggling to get through this interview with a guy who just is way out of his league.
Mm-hmm.
And it was shot in downtown Tucson, and I recognize exactly where they shot it, so it was pretty funny.
Okay, so not really a story per se.
But an anecdote.
More of an anecdote, a tidbit, a historical tidbit.
I had a beginning and had an end. There was a story.
Yeah. Also, you know what? I don't like covering deaths and stuff like that too much, but I do want to chat a little bit about. We lost Jim Garner this week.
Yeah.
James Garner, which was an interesting shame.
It was a what?
Oh, interesting shame.
It's an interesting shame. Well, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, oh, fucking James Garner died, but it's like he's 86. We've definitely seen, his heyday was definitely behind him. It's not as if the man didn't leave a great body of work as well. I mean, he continually worked and was always putting
Space
out
Cowboys alone.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to give it up for the Cowboys from space.
I like Maverick, the movie Maverick with Mel Gibson and
yeah.
That was a fun movie.
Yeah. Oh no. No, Maverick actually was a blast. It may have been Richard Donner's last solid film. But for a lot of us, it's like, he was Jim Rockford, which is a big deal for those who kind of grew up in the late 70s, early 80s. And he was repeated continually on KPHO when I was a kid. But then it's like, as you get older, you start kind of discovering some of his older films. And The Great Escape, if you've not seen The Great Escape.
Essential alert.
Essential, yes. Actually, yeah, that is totally an essential. Especially if you are, and this is to a Warren Aaron thing. If you're a father of boys, kind of like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and The Great Escape are like two of those kind of essential movies that you should probably watch that you'll end up watching with your kid at some point. And everybody talks about Steve McQueen for The Great Escape, which is very fair. Steve McQueen is dead. He's on the poster art. He's got the motorcycle jump. He's a cool character and everything else like that. But James Garner as the Scrounger is the best fucking character in that film because not only is he this cool con man and smooth as hell and he can kind of like get whatever you want and he can talk people out of he can pick pockets to get papers from the Nazis and get them back before people notice and everything else like that. But he's also the one a human in a way in that movie because everything is about the plan and getting everybody to escape. And he's roommates with Donald Pleasance, who plays the forger. And because he's been forging all these papers for like a year, however long they've been slowly digging these tunnels, he's now going blind. And so they're not going to let him leave. Even though he's done all this work, he's done all this stuff.
Only people who have a chance to make it.
Yeah. And so, anybody who's been a key factor that gets to get are kind of the first ones to get to go. And so Garner, who of course Garner's like, fuck it, I'll take responsibility for him, and that'll be that. And so their story about their escape and finally kind of the climax of that and what finally goes down is the most human touching portion of the entire film. And it's a great bit. And Pleasance and Garner have a really nice chemistry together because they're these very complete opposite characters. So, Pleasance is this very kind of he's just kind of like this internal little bookworm kind of dude.
He's like a proper British guy and
very
like American guy.
Yeah, and he's just this. Go ahead, Deb.
Well, but I was going to say, but Gardner had that kind of charm where he has that chemistry with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't think of an incident I've seen him with where it was an awkward scene between him and someone else. Like I really like it's so funny when you watch the Support Your Local Sheriff movies.
Right. Yeah.
Anytime anytime the camera's not on him, those movies are a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're really good and really strong vehicles to show just what a charismatic actor he is, just how well he holds the camera.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's like Steve McQueen, you feel like he's too cool for you to hang out with, whereas Garner is the guy that's so cool you could hang out with him and feel and you know, not even feel special, just be like, that guy's just the fucking best.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, like if there was like a group of cool people sitting around, he'd be the one like, hey, come on, you come over have a drink with us. Like he'd
Exactly.
be the one that would invite you over.
Yeah. McQueen would kind of go off quietly in the corner,
Neal.
but
Also in that movie though, Charles Bronson is great in that movie. Like that's one of my favorite roles for Charles Bronson because he's like, you know,
Tunnel
for this
rat.
tough guy, he's like he kind of has these moments of where he's like really like sitting, you know, kind of shows the softer side a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's cool because, and again, I guess spoilers in a weird way. He's claustrophobic.
Yeah, exactly.
His job is to dig a tunnel, and for some reason he's been digging this tunnel forever. But something happens near the end when the light goes out. He starts freaking out because he's claustrophobic, and it's such a neat little kind of character thing to give him. But yeah, great. Yeah, Great Escape's a classic. It's a really fantastic film. So and it's incredible how well it moves, considering it's a 3-hour movie.
Oh yeah, but it moves. Yeah. It's like it goes really fast.
Fast, yeah, and it's got great characters and just a lot of fun. And John Sturges, who is the director, is just beautiful pacing, and it's not stylish. You know, it's incredibly well executed and well photographed, but it's not something that you sit there and go, oh my God, these shots are fantastic. You know, it doesn't draw. He never draws attention to himself.
Yeah, they're not breaking any new ground.
You know,
yeah.
You know, we've talked about Peckinpah and Friedkin, and you know, there's other directors we can touch upon like Hitchcock and Hawks, but I think John Sturges is worth a look, worth a discussion. Yeah. I mean, he's made arguably a handful of classic Hollywood films, unforgettable Hollywood films of varying degree of quality. I mean, Magnificent Seven and Great Escape are two that I can think of offhand. He did Bad Day at Black Rock.
I was gonna say
really underrated.
Yeah, Bad Day at Black Rock also is kind of one of those movies that really shows how good at composing images he can be. A person, you know, that he can be. That's the one time he's really kind of broke away from just kind of classic filmmaking and really kind of developed this visual storytelling in Bad Day at Black Rock that's just amazing. Mm-hmm. And Spencer Tracy's great, excellent. Not Lee Van Cleef. Oh my God. Point Blank. Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin's got this great way that he stands up in Bad Day at Black Rock. That's just brilliant.
Lee Marvin's another one of those guys that holds the camera fairly well.
Yeah, you know,
you could just stare at Lee Marvin forever.
He's always just Lee Marvin. That's the thing. Like,
yeah. Why would you be anyone else?
Yeah. If you could be Lee Marvin, why would you want to be?
Right? You had the chance to be Lee Marvin.
And then Marvin though did something that for me I think was it was varying degrees of Lee Marvin in an odd way, because like if you look at him in Hell in the Pacific, where he's much more.
I'm gonna say Paint Your Wagon.
No, I'm not gonna say Paint Your Wagon actually, although I can sing you a couple tunes. But Lee Marvin in Hell in the Pacific is much more kind of a manic character and like struggling to survive kind of thing, and a lot more freaked out, tense. Versus if you look at him in like Point Blank, where he's just a wall continually moving forward. Yes, and there's of course the brilliant shot where Angie Dickinson starts like slapping and beating on him, and he just doesn't move.
No, he can't.
No, he can't. It's impossible. I mean, it's like you can't do anything to this guy. Point Blank is I mean, Marvin was an intelligent human being as well, because he was apparently there's a story about oh my God, John Borman, who directed Point Blank. It was his first American film, and he and Marvin were reading the script, and they're both like, the script is just garbage. What do we do? And Borman's anecdote when he was talking to Steven Soderbergh on the commentary is that Marvin threw the script out the window, and he feels that it probably landed in the hands of a young Mel Gibson, who then carried it on to later make Payback with that exact same script.
Actually, Payback is a ripoff of a comic book. I can't remember. It's
Well, then that comic book was a ripoff of Point Blank.
In the 60s or 70s. No, Point Blank was a ripoff of the comic book too.
No, it was just a book, just a
It was
just
a
a
book,
series
yeah.
of books. Yeah.
What was his name in Point Blank? I mean, I'm sorry, Payback. What was Mel
Payback.
Gibson's?
Is it
His
Parker?
name was Payback.
Parker. Parker,
Yeah,
yeah.
Parker's
Okay,
right,
the comic book was called Parker, and if you read it, it's like very close to Payback. And they also made a movie with Jason Statham recently called Parker, which is just a remake of that too.
Oh, I didn't know that they were all related.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're all the same character.
It's all the same character. Parker is from a book it's from the '60s.
Yes. Why can't I think of the author's name right now? But yeah, and the author had like an entire series of books based off this guy. There was actually this is going to be weird. Made in America, which was a Jean-Luc Godard movie, is based off of Westlake. Donald Westlake was the author.
Yeah.
But that Made in the USA, a Godard film, was based off of one of those books, and in that, Anna Karina plays the female version of the Parker character.
Yeah, a friend of mine gave me the book, and I read like the comic. It was a trade, so it was a thick book, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, "This is Payback." Like it's it's literally the storyboards for Payback, like to a point. But it was like, wow.
Yeah, it's one of those characters. Parker is one of those characters, and I think Westlake would sell. What was the deal? Westlake would sell the book, but not the character name or something like that. And so it wasn't until he died that they could actually use it because his name's Walker in Point Blank. And then there's a movie with Gene Hackman where he plays that character. There's a movie with Robert Duvall, I believe, where he plays that character. It's like one of those things where it's the character that has been portrayed by the most actors. It's one of the characters that's been portrayed by the most actors in movie history that nobody knows has been portrayed by some different actors.
Well, now it's like Sherlock Holmes is like it's open season on Sherlock Holmes. You can't use the story, but the character is free to do with as you please.
Please, right. Yeah, and this he just flipped around, and now that Westlake has passed away, the books were the full books and character names are kind of carte blanche depending on what the estate does with them, and that's how the Jason Statham film. I wish the Statham movie were better. It had a lot of.
That's the thing. I wanted to see it. I just because I like Jason Statham, and I knew that was another Parker.
Yeah, it's not horrible, but it's not great either, and it feels very old fashioned in an odd way, which is cool. That's the best part about
Taylor Hackford.
It was Taylor Hackford. It was Taylor the Hack Hackford.
But I did really like Payback.
That poor guy.
I mean, Payback I thought was a good movie.
I like the director's cut a lot more than I like the original theatrical version. Because the director's cut is actually shorter and makes him a much darker character. It cuts out any sentimental sappiness or any kind of emotion that he may actually show, and basically is just this kind of brutal.
He is a dark character. Like if you read the book, he's a really dark character.
Yeah.
I don't remember the Point Blank having any sentimentality or sappiness.
No, it doesn't. No.
I remember being very surreal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Point Blank is very dreamlike, and it's got that whole angle where is he dead? Has he been dead the whole time? Is this kind of like his specter kind of working its way through? Yeah. Yes.
You go through this momentous moment early on that makes you question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, but I do hear it was an inspiration for the screenplay for Transformers 4. They were big on that movie. Point Blank now available on Blu-ray, of course.
That's good. Was it touched up or anything?
I think it's been restored, but don't quote me on that. And I think it's the Blu-ray does still have the commentary.
Santo, it says it's been restored.
Yeah, exactly. Put it out there. But yeah, it's got the Steven Soderbergh, John Borman commentary, which if you ever see Soderbergh's name on a commentary where he's interviewing people, check it out because they're always he's incredibly well informed and just does a lot of homework before he sits down to talk to people. Huh. So you get these really these really interesting discussions. And there's like another one with him and Tony Gilroy on The Third Man. And they just read all these books and everything before sitting down to have the conversation, and so he always delivers these really great.
On the Third Man Blu-ray.
On the Third Man, on the Criterion Third Man DVD and Blu-ray, which I think are both out of print.
Oh, because I think Tiffany has one.
Really?
She brought it over. Yeah, when she brought over Day the Earth Stood Still, she also had the Third Man. I thought it was Criterion.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, because I would totally take the time to listen to that.
Yeah, it's a fantastic.
To hear Tony Gilroy talk about anything, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, Gilroy's an incredibly well-educated person as well, and both he and Soderbergh having a conversation because they both studied separately, and so they both come to the table with different information and different things, and point out stuff that neither one of them had caught before. And it's as a matter like there's a character in The Third Man. Until I watched the commentary, I never even realized that there's this subtext of two of the characters actually being gay. And when you watch, and he's like, no, watch, because this guy and this guy are lovers. And then like later on, you see them out on the balcony, and like one is even like in a little sheer nightgown and stuff like that. You're like, holy shit, I never saw that. Yeah, it's just
just bobbing up and down.
Naked and having sex.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Didn't notice.
They're like in the foreground doing it, and like all the action and covers in the background.
Yeah, I just said to myself, it's they're European.
Straight up gay porn, same soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be an interesting film?
That would be an interesting supercut of the Third Man theme placed over gay porn.
No, that's a great soundtrack though. The score of that movie is great.
Yes.
I have a hard time getting over it. I think it's too much. I think it's too overbearing. I think it's too distracting.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm with Warren on this one. I love that. I love the soundtrack on that. The zither.
Yeah.
The zither. Okay, let's see. Also, so I rewatched a movie that I hadn't seen in years. Have you ever seen The Offense? It's early 1970s. It's a Sidney Lumet movie with Sean Connery. And Lumet did like several films in England for a brief period, or at least 3 or 4 films, I think, because I know he did The Deadly Affair, The Offense. I think The Hill also took place there. He shot over there. Anyways, The Offense has one of the most interesting Sean Connery performances you're ever going to see, because it's basically about Sean Connery plays a cop full of rage who kills a guy who's been murdering, who's molested and murdered this little girl, and it's about basically this whole thing though is about Connery coming to terms with the fact that he too is a pedophile.
Oh wow!
Shit.
It's fucking bizarre because it's like it comes up pretty early and you're like, oh shit, is this where this thing is going? And then it's like, and then later on they cut back to, it's like starts off with the guy being dead, and then you kind of flash back to how the guy got to be dead, and then Connery going through the aftermath of that, and then you get to go back and finally see the full interview of what finally blew Connery's top and he started beating the shit out of this dude. But yeah, it's all about Sean Connery's basically he physically just rages at the world and at everybody because he's unable to deal with this fact that he likes little girls.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting film. It's a really well-made title.
What year?
Flick. God, I want to say it's
72.
like early 72. Okay, yeah, it's a ride. It is an interesting film, and it's not something that you would think of when you think of Sidney Lumet or Sean Connery. It's not a project that you would click on.
I might
either
think
of
of
them.
Sidney Lumet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I might think Sidney Lumet. I would definitely not think
Of Connery.
Sean Connery.
Yeah,
After like what, four James Bond movies at that point or more?
at least, yeah. I mean, his Bond, I think his Bond tenure was close.
I don't know. Yeah.
At 72?
Yeah,
Well, when
the first one's like 62, right? And he,
I think so. Yeah.
and then I guess he did one maybe every 2 years, but then he stopped. And Roger Moore was like mid to late 70s.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was close. It was close.
It was close. Yeah, it was near the end. But yeah, so either he just ended his Bond, or he was still in the middle of Bond, trying to, he wasn't
That
Zardoz
might
yet.
have been his "I'm no longer James Bond" movie.
Yeah, and he definitely fucking proved it with that one. But yeah, The Offense is a really interesting flick worth checking out.
If you want to see a lighter Lumet Connery, collaboration, there's the Anderson tapes,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is really quirky. The structure is very, it's different. It's not linear. It's told from different perspectives at different times. It's that kind of thing, but it's really clever and it's funny as hell. It's a cool caper movie, kind of in the vein of a little lighter than Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So it is a New York movie, in like Serpico, Pelham, so forth, and it's a really interesting movie.
Yeah, and it's what really kind of makes it even funnier today is the technology, and that's the problem with like all technology movies, when it's like everybody's like it's the cutting edge of technology, and then 20 years later, it's a reel-to-reel tape deck, and we're putting this bug on you, and it's like a giant microphone that like clips on.
I learned more about the telephone system in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Than working for a company whose primary business was dealing with telephone. It was. And my favorite line is Martin Balsam plays kind of his effeminate little, kind of crony in this criminal group. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of a movie called Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But the guy who plays Santa Claus in this movie, he plays a doorman in this building that they're robbing. So he's on the phone with the cops, and he's describing Martin Balsam. He's got a coiffed hair and really neat suit and very feminine. It's got the cigarette with the holder and everything.
He says, "Do you have an ascot?"
The
He
flower
says
in
in
the
the phone.
wall.
He's looking the guy up and down. He's in the phone. And he says, describing the guy, fat, 45, fag. And that's my favorite line in the movie.
It's a great line. Yeah, it is a great line reading. It is a brilliant line reading.
Very 70s.
That's the headline of my Twitter profile.
But
So
That's
for
like
the
a
record,
Craigslist ad.
Sean Connery had done 6 James Bond movies, and the year before was his last. He did Dinosaur Forever,
Screw you.
71.
nice, excellent work there, Warren. Good research.
6, yeah, well, me and IMDb.
That's right. Well, now was that after? Was it Diamonds Are Forever when he came back to do one more?
No, that was Never Say Never in 1983.
Right, but he left, and then they did Lazenby, and Lazenby only did his one movie, and they brought Connery. Yeah. Connery came back for one more film after Lazenby, and then Roger Moore took over, if I remember correctly. Not a big Bond fan, I have to admit.
Actually, I think Diamonds Are Forever are the ones that he came back for.
Was it? Yeah.
It must have been, because he doesn't have any more Bond movies.
Okay.
Oh, he's in A Bridge Too Far!
Oh, yeah.
For those of you.
It's how you link Michael Caine and Sean Connery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
weren't we just talking about people?
Exactly, I just saw that. We were just talking about that.
Yeah,
that's all I remember about that movie is that scene where the guy yells "A bridge too far."
Yeah, everybody likes a good Jeremy Piven college film.
He like gets up and starts crying and weeping because his thesis was that all movies contain either Michael Douglas or Gene Hackman.
No, it was every movie on TV at all time. You can either find a Michael Caine or a Sean Connery film on TV.
No, Gene Hackman. It was Gene Hackman or Michael Caine.
Yeah, I think it was Gene Hackman.
Was it?
Yeah.
But then what's the Sean Connery?
He just happened to be in it too.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay. But yeah, he's watching TV. PCU, by the way, is the movie that we're discussing. A completely forgotten, probably for not unreasons. Not
I find it hilarious. I'm not saying it's
not funny.
I've watched it over and over, and I laugh all the time.
Yeah, it's the they tried to bring back the snobs versus slobs kind of Animal House-esque type of thing with that film.
It worked for me. It worked. Yeah. It totally worked. I mean, that's like I think not the introduction of Jon Favreau, but he's in that. You know, Jeremy Piven. It's his like starring vehicle. I think that might be one of his first starring movies.
Oh yeah, no, it's also got George Clinton and
George Clinton
shows up to
and then David Spade was in it.
Role.
It was like David.
Are we here in time for the show, guys?
I think it was David Spade's first solo show without Chris Farley.
Yeah,
it was.
He may have even done it before, actually, the Farley films.
Yeah, what was it? Because I remember how sad I was then. I said something at work today, and one of the kids goes, "Who's that over there? Is that Bill Shakespeare?" I was like, "Oh my God! How do you know Matt Foley?"
That Bill Shakespeare? Yeah, Jeremy Piven. I don't know.
Any other movies anybody has seen they want to kind of bring up, chat about?
It might be a longer conversation, but it was the middle of the night, and I couldn't sleep, and I threw on Turner Classic Movies, and based on what I saw and the names thrown out, I'm going to say it was a Three Musketeers movie. I don't know how many other D'Artagnans there are in culture, and it was probably a late '60s, probably early '60s. It was a very retro, very earnest sort of swashbuckling.
Was it Michael York and Richard
No,
Chamberlain?
no. It wasn't any of the ones I
Richard Master one. Okay.
Because I've seen quite a few of them. And what I was going to say is, there's something like I haven't seen the new W.S. Anderson. Right? Did he do the?
You don't need to see it. It's horrible.
But all the other ones I've seen, I haven't seen a straight up bad one, and I think I chalk it up to the physicality that's inherent. So there's something about sword fighting in the fencing style that I just think is inherently cool in movies.
Sure.
And it's way better than like the super fast lightsaber stuff you saw in the later Star Wars movies. It's more the classic back and forth, thrust and parry kind of formalized sword fighting.
Sure.
And I just feel like anytime I see that in a movie, I'm sold.
Yeah. Well, like it was
swashbuckling.
Yeah, like there's just something always, and especially the older you can get for swashbuckling, the better. Like if you can find, if you can even go back to black and white, because they had to do their own stunts.
Right.
So you're seeing real people jump across roofs. I saw.
Sure. Well, I mean, you had Errol Flynn and Tyrone Power and these guys who were kind of famous for buckling swashes in all of their stuff.
I think I saw one with Gene Kelly.
Oh.
Wasn't he in one where he played D'Artagnan? I think that was him, and he did this amazing bit where they show him on a roof. So he's got to be at least, based on the framing of the shot, and they didn't move the camera around, so they just set this up. But based on the framing of this shot, this guy he was at least 15 feet off the air. He had to jump.
Probably lower. It was probably like lower. It wasn't probably. It was like a.
Well, from what you could see, yes, there may have been some forced perspective, but from what you could see in the shot, there was sheer wall face between these two buildings, and he had to jump, and then he had to climb up, and then he had to slide all the way back down until he was hanging, and then catch himself on the second window ledge below the ledge. It was just this incredible practical stunt. And you always get something like that in those swashbuckling movies. I don't know. They just they always feel like they're worth the time to watch.
Yeah, I gotta say I miss practical stunts in a weird way. I mean, it's they're still there, but it's unfortunately everything's been enhanced so much with CGI. You kind of miss that the visceral feeling that you get when you actually see somebody falling off of a building or hanging or doing that whole stuff.
And sword fighting where it looks like from time to time they're actually trying to hurt one another. That's an important thing, because just showing off how much you can spin and twirl your sword is kind of fun, but it's you need to connect it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why you like The Princess Bride so much. There's some good
naming advice.
Yeah, Princess Bride's got that
Certainly
great
the first few Star Wars movies, those are some great sword fights.
Yeah, they're definitely, especially in Jedi, the stuff with Vader and Skywalker. It's much more in that classic, almost fencing mold. It's not all spinning around crazy hack and slash like they do with the CG ones.
Yeah, and the pacing of that one is great because it's tied directly into the emotional state of the characters at the time.
Yeah.
So I really like that one because it is very formal. Like I think maybe someone who's used to jumping and flipping and all of these crazy sort of stunts might find it stilted, but there's something to be said for feeling like Luke is really trying to hit Vader.
Right. Yeah, I don't. It's fascinating. I would love to show kids if you in a weird way just cut out the sword fighting sequence from Jedi. So you pull out the Ewok stuff and you pull out the space battle. Just put that whole thing together and show them that, and then show them Yoda versus Christopher Lee in what Phantom, not Phantom Menace, Clones, I think was their fight. Yeah. And I'd be really curious to see, or even the Yoda Emperor fight in Sith, which one they found more interesting to watch. Because I still think that it is the emotional connection that helps make the fight better. It doesn't matter how much bopping around and spinning and flipping and bullshit you can pull off. It really is about the emotional connection and watching Luke's, like you said, emotional range or the process that he is going through that fight.
Yeah,
that makes that the most interesting. Plus, they're also like taking breaks to like kind of talk to each other. It's more than just swords clashing.
Yeah, I could geek out on that scene because I think that scene is so well done and just so well crafted. Even to the point where the emotional through line is so effective in that scene that the whole bizarre notion of strike me down and release your hate and now you're mine
Right.
doesn't bother you. Like it's such a it's such a weird idea. Like you can't think too hard on it because it's almost like what the Emperor is saying to him doesn't matter.
Right.
It's between him and his dad.
Yeah.
His friends. Like whoever this jerk is, his words mean nothing.
Yeah, it's also, and just not just that fight, but that the last third of Jedi, the way they are cross-cutting between the three different scenarios are beautifully timed because it never hangs in one place too long. Just as you see little Ewok dying on the ground and the other guy goes, oh, and you're like, really? And just as you're about to go, it cuts away to something else, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind. We're watching Lando fly the Falcon now. That's cool. Yeah, so practical sword fighting, good stuff.
Practical sword fighting, always good.
Yeah, so
sword fighting is just practical.
Yeah, it's just practical. So we'll see.
Anytime you fight where you want to get it looks like someone's trying to be heard.
Yeah, and it's definitely not as clumsy or random as a blaster. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the new Abrams flick to see if he brings some of that back or not. It'll be an interesting thing.
I want to point out on a nerd level, I like that he's showing respect for the...
What level have we been on?
I like that he's showing respect for the original trilogy look with the stuff that he's been revealing and with what you've been seeing. But that X-Wing reveal that came out this week, I think it's so respectable what he's doing because any image from Star Wars is going to spread like nerd fire. Right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be the top of everywhere. And if you watch that video, it's a minor pitch for UNICEF donations for a chance to get into the movie. So he's raising money for UNICEF, but the background is the reveal of the X-Wing.
Yeah.
So he's so conscious of how he delivers information and what the value of information that he's delivering has, both to the story he's telling and to the culture at large. Yeah. Like that's just something he's talked about in his TED Talks and stuff.
Sometimes to a fault, though.
Sometimes to a fault. He certainly has the ability to be pretentious on it, but I respect him for traveling down that route and for saying, okay, I can't keep all information about this movie secret. I'm going to have to put some scenes out. You're going to have to see images. You're going to have to see behind-the-scenes footage. You're going to have to get some information. I'm going to present it to you, and I'm going to give it some value by throwing in a little charity work and making that the end result of the viral nature of what will inevitably be a, even if momentary, cultural phenomenon.
Sure.
Here's a picture of the new X-Wing. I personally will lose my shit when I see it. Right. Not everybody will. It's going to get forwarded. Everyone is going to be exposed to this. He does it in video form. He puts it on YouTube. He links back to the site for money-raising purposes. I so respect him for doing that. And then on top of that, to see just a much older X-Wing and to see that little bot crawl across the bottom is really cool. Like on the nerd level, he's given me the good stuff for sure.
Yeah. Agreed.
Did you donate?
No, screw those kids. I walk around with my kids on Halloween and make them ask for change. So
nice. That's
and
then of course they give you the change. Yeah.
It's not for UNICEF. It's for you.
It's a good way for me to get laundry done, I have to say.
So all right. So Dub is heartless. We've learned that. Warren dislikes monkeys, and Tremendo.
I gotta go.
Okay. We'll talk to you later, sir.
I heard some crying.
I saw the J.J. Abrams.
Yeah,
Daddy, that was for UNICEF.
Dad made us eat change.
I don't like these quarters. Taste funny.
I think we can probably wrap this up. Any other final comments or anything anybody wanted to chat about real quick before we take off?
No. Well, I think I'm going to see Snowpiercer this week.
Oh, nice. Yeah, actually, T, did you see Snowpiercer yet?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll go Thursday night. I think the timing works out. I think.
Nice. Yeah, we can. We should definitely chat about that one. And it's actually now on pay-per-view, which I thought was which was kind of a fascinating thing for the Weinsteins to do. I'm glad they are trying to get it out there to as many people as
It's not in
possible.
a lot of theaters. It's really
You know where it is? I mean, is it on Time Warner?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's I think you can rent it through multiple different pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think I saw it on
now.
Comcast too, and I got nervous. I was like, wait, it's out of the theaters. I wanna go see it.
They apparently so the Weinsteins were going to kind of when it came out, when the news came out that they were putting it out on pay-per-view last week, it was supposed to be kind of this, oh wow, but the pay-per-view kind of blew the secret already because they just put it out on because they have their normal schedule stuff that they put out.
Laid out and stuff.
But yeah, so that's Snowpiercer is definitely an interesting movie worth chatting about. So once everybody sees that, hopefully we can chat about that and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes next week, along with some other films that we watch and think are worth sharing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Guardians. I think Guardians is
Yeah. I'm awkwardly looking forward to Lucy as well. I don't know. I'll be kind of fascinated.
I always enjoy a Luc Besson movie, and like I would get I temper my expectations, and I just go, okay, I know he always makes the same movie, and you just want to see how he does it.
Yeah. Well, what I'm more curious about too is this one he's directing. You know, it's like a lot of the time, it's like he's his little machine with his writing.
Yeah.
They just like write tons of like 3 films a year is what it feels like.
More than that, it feels like. It's like he produces like 7 movies, and like half of those make it to the States, and the other half are like in Europe.
Yeah. So I'm always very curious to see when he decides to direct something what that project's going to be. So.
What was the last one he directed?
God, I don't remember. It's been a while. I want to say. Actually, at one point I thought he even said he was going to retire.
Fifth Element may have been his last one.
Which one?
Fifth Element?
No, because he's directed Angel A, and he did those kids movies.
Right.
The little troll movies, whatever those were called. But I felt like he had something more recent than that, like something Adele and the
something called The Lady.
God, he writes so much stuff.
Oh yeah, no, the guy is a machine, and he's just kind of recycling story plot.
He directed The Family. Okay, he directed The Family.
That's what it was, The Family.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was just a Luc Besson movie, but it was a comedy.
Yeah, it was a little on the lackluster side, which was a bummer. But it had a lot of the guy's a great director. The guy's a really good director, especially when it comes to like his action stuff. He's got a really very particular style that's his, and it's almost on the verge of operatic, but never really kind of pushes too far into that realm.
I mean, I would say La Femme Nikita is one of my essentials, like for action movies. I mean,
totally.
It's amazing. It changed the way I looked at action movies too. Like I had like a certain idea, and then you're like, oh wait, this is a totally different.
Are you more of a Nikita or a Leon fan?
I think at the end of the day, I enjoyed Leon more for some reason. When I saw The Professional when it first came out, I was like, oh my god. And then when I saw Leon, I was like, oh, that's even more of the good stuff. And I think both of them really show that he knows his action and he knows kind of what sells.
Yeah, agreed.
A lot of people like either love or hate The Fifth Element. I'm a fan of it.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, it's just sort of like I saw in the theater a couple of times. It's just sort of a crazy movie to watch, and like it's one of those movies where like if it's on, I'll just sit down and watch it.
Right. No, it makes sense. So,
all right. Lucy on my list.
Yep, Lucy. Next Friday, Guardians of the Galaxy, so we'll probably be chatting about that soon as well. So until then, though, T, where can people find you?
At El Tremendo on Twitter.
Warren?
At Warren Graff on Twitter.
Dub, who's still not there, you can find him at Film Geek Dub, his sad little empty seat and his little toys in the background. And of course, for Shu, you can find him at Shooniverse, or probably at a craps table right now losing his shirt. And you can find me. Yeah, he doesn't have a problem at all. And you can find me at John Santo. Anyways, till next week, folks. We shall see you then. Play us out, Shu.